The oxtail hits the pass at 7:43 p.m. Nicole slides the plate forward without looking up. Her hands move to the next order before the server even lifts it. Behind her, the kitchen is loud. Pans, fire, someone calling a ticket from the back. The dining room is full. Every table. A Friday night that took 3 years of work to build. She doesn't hear the front door open. Her sous chef, Darius, does. He looks up from his station, clocks the woman walking in, and goes back to his pan. Doesn't say anything. But his shoulders change. Yoon Seo-yeon doesn't knock. Doesn't wait to be seated. She walks straight through the dining room and pushes through the kitchen door like she already owns the footage. 2 assistants behind her. One with a camera. One with a notepad. Nicole turns around. For 1 second. Just one. The 2 women look at each other. Nicole wipes her hands on her apron. This is a working kitchen. Seo-yeon looks around the room like Nicole didn't speak. She clocks the prep station. The lowboy. The reach-in that has a small rust spot near the handle. She pulls out a recorder and clicks it on. Temperature on your cold storage? 37 mm. She writes something. Walks to the pass. Looks at the plates lined up for service. Picks one up, tilts it, sets it back down slightly crooked. The server on the other side of the pass doesn't move. Darius adjusts his grip on the pan handle. Seo-yeon moves down the line. She touches things. Opens a container, sniffs it, closes it. The camera follows her. Nicole follows her too, saying nothing, watching everything. The kitchen staff keeps working, but every single person in that room is tuned to the same frequency. Then Seo-yeon stops at Nicole's station. The oxtail for table 9 is on the board. Nicole has been building it for 4 hours. The reduction alone takes 90 minutes. The garnish, a dried herb finish she learned from her grandmother at age 11, takes 3 days to prepare in batches. Seo-yeon picks up a spoon from Nicole's station without asking. Nicole's hand moves. Stops. Seo-yeon scoops from the reduction pan. Tastes it. Looks at the ceiling for a moment like she's thinking. Then she sets the spoon down on the wrong side of the station, on top of a clean towel, leaving a dark stain. She turns to Nicole. You trained where? Johnson & Wales. And my grandmother's kitchen. She clicks her recorder. The reduction is overseasoned. The protein texture reads as overworked. And this garnish. She picks up a small container of the dried herb finish and holds it up to the light. This is decorative. It's not doing anything. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Seo-yeon sets the container down. Looks at Nicole directly for the first time. You don't belong in my kitchen. The line cook 3 feet away stops moving. Not dramatically. He just stops. Darius puts his pan down on the burner without a sound. The server at the pass looks at the floor. Nicole doesn't move. Doesn't blink. Holds Seo-yeon's eye contact like it costs her nothing. Seo-yeon turns back to her recorder. Technique is inconsistent. Flavor profile is unclear. The menu reads as nostalgia-driven rather than skill-driven. She's walking toward the door now, still talking. This is a neighborhood restaurant presenting itself as a dining experience. The distinction matters. The door swings shut behind her. Nobody moves for 3 seconds. Then Nicole picks up the clean towel with the stain on it, folds it, and drops it in the laundry bin. Table 9 is waiting, she says. And she goes back to work. Before we get started, quick question. Are you watching alone tonight? Or do you have someone with you? And where are you tuning in from? Let us know in the comments below. Welcome to Afro-Korean Confessions TV. 6 weeks earlier, the restaurant didn't have a problem. Nicole is on the phone with her landlord, Gerald. She's standing outside the back door on her break, eating standing up the way she always does. Gerald is talking about the lease renewal, the one that was supposed to be automatic, the one it's always been, the one her father signed twice before her. Just standard stuff, Gerald says. Nothing to worry about. I'll send the paperwork over next week. Same terms. Should be. Yeah. She eats another bite. Okay. That's the whole conversation. She goes back inside. She doesn't know that Gerald got a call that morning from a number he didn't recognize. She doesn't know the man on the other end of that call offered him 40% over market value for a building he inherited from his father and never really wanted to manage. She doesn't know Gerald said, "Let me think about it," and then spent the rest of the day thinking about it. She's already back at the stove. The review posts at 11:58 p.m. on a Friday. By Saturday morning, it has 14,000 shares. Nicole reads it at her kitchen table at home, still in her work clothes. Coffee going cold next to her. She reads it twice. The second time slower. Seo-yeon's writing is controlled and precise and devastating. She doesn't attack. She dismisses. That's worse. There's no anger in it. Just the quiet confidence of someone who believes they have already won. Nicole closes her laptop, sits there for a minute. Then she opens it again and reads the comments. Some of them defend her. Most of them don't. A few of them are the kind of thing you don't let yourself read twice. She closes the laptop again, stands up, goes to the sink and pours out the cold coffee and washes the mug. Her hands are steady. She texts Darius, "Come in early tomorrow. We need to prep ahead." He responds in 30 seconds, already planned on it. She puts her phone face down and goes to bed. 3 days later, the restaurant is different, and she knows it. She can feel it before she sees it. In the way the host stands at the door, in the way the early tables fill slower. 2 regulars who have eaten here every Thursday for 6 years don't come. A woman calls to cancel a birthday reservation. She's very apologetic about it. Nicole tells her it's fine. By 8 p.m., there are 4 empty tables that should not be empty. Nicole stays in the kitchen. She doesn't go out to the dining room the way she usually does. The rounds, the check-ins, the relationship work that kept this place alive through a pandemic and 2 recessions. Tonight she stays behind the line. Darius watches her from across the kitchen but doesn't say anything. At 9:15, a reservation comes in. Private party. For people. No name. Cash deposit already sent through the restaurant's payment link. Unusual, but not unheard of. Nicole looks at the booking. Looks at her kitchen. Nods. Full tasting menu, she says. I'll run it myself. The black car parks directly in front at 8:40 p.m. Nobody gets out for almost a full minute. Then the back door opens and Park Junesio steps onto the sidewalk and straightens his jacket. He doesn't look at the restaurant immediately. He looks up the block, then down it, like he's reading the street. Then he looks at the sign above the door, a D's table, and something passes across his face that doesn't have a name. He goes inside. The dining room is quiet. Midweek energy, the kind of room that's working hard to look fuller than it is. 2 of his men are already at the table. The attorney, David Kwan, is next to them with his briefcase open and a folder laid flat on the table like they're at an office. Junesio sits down. Kwan pushes the folder toward him. Purchase agreement is finalized. Once the restaurant hits the revenue threshold, which, given the current trajectory, should be within 30 days, the acquisition triggers automatically. You don't even have to be present for closing. Junesio doesn't touch the folder. The food. Kwan blinks. Sorry, I said I wanted to eat first. Right? Of course. Kwan closes the briefcase. I just thought since everything is already in order. David. Junesio looks at him. I'm hungry. Kwan sits back. A server comes over and Junesio orders without looking at the menu. Whatever the chef recommends. The server writes it down and goes. For several minutes the table is quiet. Kwan checks his phone. The 2 men sit with their hands in their laps. Junesio looks at the room, not impatiently. He just looks. The photographs on the wall. The old menus in frames. A child's drawing, laminated, hung next to the service station. He looks at that one for a moment longer than the others. Whose restaurant was this? He asks. Kwan looks up. The current owner's grandmother. She opened it in, I think, 87. The owner inherited it. How long has the family been here? In Atlanta? Since the 70s. Junesio nods. Looks back at the laminated drawing. Okay, he says, and nothing else. In the kitchen, Nicole is building the tasting menu from scratch. She doesn't know the name of the man at table 4. She doesn't know about the folder on the table or the purchase agreement or the 30-day timeline. She knows only that a private party paid for the full tasting menu and that she is going to cook it the way it was meant to be cooked. She starts with the oxtail. Darius comes to stand beside her, not to help. She doesn't need help, but because he always does this when she cooks the oxtail. He's watched her make it 100 times, and he still watches. There's something about the way she handles it. Precise, but not mechanical. Like she's paying attention to something nobody else can see. You good? He asks. I'm good. Nicole. Darius. I'm good. He goes back to his station. She finishes the reduction and starts the plate. The garnish goes on last. The dried herb finish her grandmother taught her, the one Seo Yun called decorative. She places it the same way her grandmother placed it. Center right. Never centered. Her grandmother said centering it was lazy. She said the whole point was that it looked like it landed there by accident, which meant you had to place it with more care than anything else on the plate. She sends it out. At table 4, the first courses come and go. Kwan eats. The 2 men eat. Junesio eats carefully, not slowly, but with attention. He doesn't compliment the food. Doesn't comment. Just eats. Then the oxtail arrives. The server sets it in front of him. The plate is darker than the others. The reduction almost black at the edges, the meat pulled clean, the garnish placed slightly right of center. Junicio looks at it. He doesn't pick up his fork right away. He looks at the plate for a moment that starts to feel long to the server still standing nearby. Then he picks up the fork, cuts into the meat, and lifts it to his mouth. He chews once. Then he stops chewing. His eyes don't close. They stay open, fixed on the middle distance. His jaw is still. The fork is still in his hand. He is completely and entirely still in a way that has nothing to do with composure. Quan is talking. Something about the closing timeline. He stops when he realizes Junicio isn't listening. He looks at him. Junicio. Nothing. One of the suited men shifts in his seat. Junicio sets the fork down on the rim of the plate. Very carefully, like he's handling something fragile. He stares at the dish. His hand comes off the fork and flattens on the table. He takes one breath through his nose. Then he looks toward the kitchen door. Who made this? The server says, our chef. Nicole Brooks. She's the owner. Junicio looks at the kitchen door for another 3 seconds. Then he looks at David Quan. Not tonight. Quan's face goes careful. I'm sorry. I said not tonight. Take your folder. Go. Junicio, we're already past the point of. David. His voice doesn't change. Same volume. Same tone. Go. Quan closes the briefcase. Stands up. The 2 suited men stand. There's a brief, shuffled silence of chairs and coats, and nobody making eye contact with anyone. Then they're gone. Junicio sits alone at the table. The oxtail in front of him. He doesn't eat any more of it. He just sits with it there. His hand still flat on the table. His face doing something that has no name in any room he usually occupies. The server comes to the kitchen door. Table 4. She stops. He sent everyone away. He wants to talk to you. Just you. Darius looks at Nicole. Nicole looks at the server. He say why? No. Nicole unties her apron. Ties it again, tighter. Then she pushes through the door. Junicio looks up when she comes in. He doesn't stand. Doesn't smile. He just looks at her. Directly. Without the social performance most people use to fill a silence. His hands are still on the table. Nicole stops at the edge of the table. Doesn't sit. Something wrong with the food? No. Okay. She waits. Where did you learn to make that dish? My grandmother. What was her name? Nicole's chin lifts slightly. Why? He doesn't answer that. He looks at her for a moment. Then he says, was she from Atlanta? She came to Atlanta. Yeah. From where? Something about the question makes Nicole pull back an inch without moving her feet. Not defensive. Just careful. That's a strange thing to ask a chef. I know, he says. And he means it. He's not performing ignorance. He actually knows it's strange. He's asking anyway. Nicole looks at him. At the plate in front of him. At his hand still flat on the table. She never really said. Nicole answers. Nigeria is what we always assumed. She didn't talk about before. Junicio nods once. He reaches into his jacket and puts an envelope on the table. He stands up and buttons his jacket. The food was excellent, he says. And then he walks out. Nicole doesn't move. She stands at the empty table and looks at the envelope, and then at the kitchen door, and then at the oxtail he barely touched and left behind. She picks up the envelope. It's thick. She puts it in her apron pocket and goes back to the kitchen without opening it. The envelope has $4,300 in it. Nicole counts it twice at her grandmother's desk at 1 a.m., after the kitchen is clean and the staff is gone. She counts it, and then puts it back in the envelope, and puts the envelope in the top drawer, and sits there in the quiet. The desk is old, dark wood, scarred from decades of use. Her grandmother's handwriting is still on a notepad stuck under the desk lamp. A grocery list from sometime in the 90s, never thrown away. Milk. Dried time. Call the man about the pipe. Nicole looks at the notepad for a long time. Then she goes home. The call from Gerald comes at 9 a.m. I need to talk to you about the lease, he says. Can you come in? She's there by 10. Gerald's office is small and warm, and he's sweating a little even though the AC is running. He shakes her hand. Asks if she wants coffee. She says no. He sits down and starts talking about the lease renewal and market rates, and she listens with her hands in her lap until she sees the folder. It's on the corner of his desk. He didn't put it away, or he forgot it was there, or he doesn't know she can read upside down. Her restaurant's address. A logo she doesn't recognize. The word acquisition in the header. She reaches across the desk and picks it up. Gerald says, Nicole. She's already reading. The folder is a development prospectus. 12 pages. Her building is flagged as a priority acquisition. The deal triggers automatically once the restaurant's monthly revenue drops below a number that is printed right there in black and white, a number she will hit next month if the current trend holds. There are projected timelines. Architectural renderings. The restaurant doesn't appear in any of them. She sets the folder back down. Gerald is talking. She hears words. Market conditions. Not personal. The offer was significant, but she's not really listening to the words. She's looking at the logo on the folder cover. Who are these people, she asks. A development group. They approached me about 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago. She does the math without moving. And the review, she says. Yoon Seo-yeon. Gerald stops talking. Did they tell you about that? Before or after? He looks at his desk. That's the answer. Nicole stands up, picks up her bag. Thank you for your time, Gerald. She walks out without closing the door. She drives back to the restaurant and goes straight to the back office and sits at her grandmother's desk and does not move for 4 minutes. Then she opens the desk drawers. Not the top one, the bottom ones. The old ones. She pulls out the filing boxes her father packed when Nana Brooks died. She's looked through some of them before, but not all. There was always a reason not to. Too busy. Too painful. Too much like an ending. She pulls out the first box. Old menus. Vendor invoices from the 90s. Health inspection reports going back to 1988. A birthday card signed by people Nicole doesn't recognize. She puts it aside. Second box. More invoices. A folded newspaper from 2003. Her grandmother's obituary, cut out and kept. Nicole unfolds it carefully. Reads the first line. Adiz Brooks, founder of Adiz Table, passed Thursday morning surrounded by family. She folds it back up. She keeps going. Darius comes in at noon and finds her still at the desk, surrounded by boxes. What are you doing? Looking for something. What? I don't know yet. She holds up the prospectus folder. We have a problem. He takes it, reads it standing up. His face goes through several things. Seo-yeon, he says. Check her disclosures. The financial ones. Public record. He pulls out his phone. She watches him search. She watches him find it. 3 payments, he says. 8 months. All from, he stops. Same company? He turns the phone around. The logo matches the folder. Nicole nods. Takes the phone. Looks at it. Hands it back. She was paid to write that review, Darius says. She was paid to finish what they started. Nicole opens the top drawer of the desk and takes out the envelope. Puts it on the desk between them. The man at table 4 last night. Do you know who he is? No. Find out. Darius looks at the envelope. At the desk covered in old files. At Nicole's face, which is completely calm in a way that means the opposite. He takes his phone back out and starts making calls. Nicole goes back to the boxes. Real quick, if this story is hitting different, go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell us what you think is happening here. And if you're new, subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV. We post every week and you don't want to miss where this goes. She finds the photograph at 2:17 p.m. It's at the bottom of the third box, inside a smaller cardboard box that has no label. The small box also has 3 letters held together with a rubber band, a Korean coin, and a pressed flower so old it crumbles slightly when she lifts it. The photograph is black and white. 2 women, young, maybe mid-20s, standing outside a building. The signage behind them is in Korean. One of the women is her grandmother. She knows the face immediately. The jaw, the way she holds her shoulders, the look she always had like she was slightly amused by whatever was happening. The other woman she doesn't recognize. She turns the photo over. Her grandmother's handwriting, in pencil, faded but readable, a name and characters Nicole can't read, and a date. 1968. Nicole sets it down flat on the desk. Looks at it. Picks up Yoon Seo's card from the envelope and holds it in her other hand. She sits there with both of them. Then she picks up her phone. He picks up on the second ring. No greeting. Just silence that means he's listening. It's Nicole Brooks, she says. The chef. I know. I need to ask you something. I know that too. A pause. Come to the restaurant tonight. After close. She almost says my restaurant or yours, but she already knows what he means. He means hers. She doesn't know why she already knows that. She just does. 10:30, she says. I'll be there. Darius has the name by 7 p.m. He comes into the kitchen while service is running and stands at the edge of her station and waits for a gap. When she looks up, he leans in close. Park Yoon-seo. He runs a private equity group out of New York. Legitimate on paper. The other part, he stops. Looks at the kitchen around them. He's connected, Nicole. Seriously connected. The kind where people don't talk about it, but everyone knows. Nicole nods. He was in that deal, Darius says. I know. He told me. Darius looks at her. And you're meeting with him tonight? Yeah. By yourself. Darius. He steps back. She goes back to the line. At 10:45, June SEO is already there when she comes out of the kitchen. He's sitting at the same table as the night before. He's not on his phone. He's not doing anything. He's just sitting in the dark dining room waiting, in the same expensive suit, with the same stillness. The restaurant is empty. Darius is in the back somewhere. She told him to go home, which means he's in the back. She pulls out the chair across from June SEO and sits down. She puts the photograph on the table between them. He looks at it. He doesn't touch it yet. He leans forward slightly and looks at it closely in the low light. Then he reaches into his jacket pocket and puts something down next to her photograph. His photograph. Color, from the looks of the late 70s. An older Korean woman, 60s maybe, standing in a kitchen. Small. Precise. Holding a pot with both hands. He taps the image with one finger. My grandmother. Park Soon-hee. Then he points to a framed print on the wall behind her. A pressed flower. That flower. She had one exactly like it. Nicole looks at the photo. Looks at her own. The pressed flower in the small box. She doesn't say anything yet. The dish, June SEO says. The way you make it. The reduction, the timing, the garnish. My grandmother made it exactly that way. Exactly. I grew up eating it. She said the recipe came from someone she called her sister. Not by blood. He pauses. She said this woman left Korea in the late 60s, and she never heard from her again. Silence. My grandmother came to Atlanta in 1971, Nicole says. From where? That's the part nobody ever told us. She didn't talk about before. My father asked once. She said, Nicole stops. Looks at the table. She said some things you carry forward and some things you leave behind. And that was all she ever said about it. June SEO is quiet for a moment. Soon-hee reported a missing person to Korean authorities in 1974. A close friend. The name in the report didn't match Brooks or Adiz. He slides a piece of paper across the table. A photograph of a document. Korean text with one name circled. Does that mean anything to you? Nicole looks at it. The name means nothing. But then she thinks about the small box. The letters. She hasn't opened them yet. She's been afraid to. In a way she doesn't want to look at directly. She stands up. Come with me. The back office is too small for two people and all those boxes, but they make it work. She puts the rubber-banded letters on the desk. He sits in her grandmother's chair without being asked. Not because he's presumptuous, but because she pointed at it, and he sat down, and the naturalness of it is strange enough that neither of them acknowledges it. She takes the rubber band off. 3 letters. 2 in a mix of English and Korean that she can't fully read. 1 in English only, dated March 1973. She gives him the first 2. He reads them in silence. His face does something she's starting to recognize. The expression he gets when something lands that he already half knew. She reads the English one. It's short. 2 paragraphs. Her grandmother's handwriting, but younger, looser, less controlled. The letter doesn't have a full name at the top. It starts with CO. That's all. CO, I don't know if this will find you. Then a reference to a situation Nicole doesn't have the context for. Words like the family and what they're asking, and I can't be the person they're looking for anymore. The last line, don't look for me. I'll find a way to tell you I'm okay. I promise I will. I just don't know when. She reads it again. She never sent this one, Nicole says. June SEO looks up from the other letters. This one was never sent. She wrote it and kept it. Nicole sets it down. She wrote a letter telling your grandmother not to look for her, and then never sent it. He looks at the letter. She watches him look at it. Soon-hee looked for her for 30 years, he says. Very quietly. She hired people twice. Both times nothing. He straightens the letter on the desk. She gave me the recipe when I was 7 years old. Sat me down at the kitchen table and made me watch her make it 3 times and memorize every step. I asked her why this dish and not the others. He pauses. She said this one mattered more than the others. Nicole sits back. Outside the office, the restaurant is completely quiet. The kitchen is dark. Through the small window above the desk, the street is empty. Your grandmother protected mine, June SEO says. Didn't she? It's not quite a question. I think so, Nicole says. I think that's what these say. They sit with that for a moment. Then June SEO puts both letters down flat and looks at her. I pulled out of the deal this morning. Formally. Kwon knows. The investors know. That doesn't fix the review. No. He looks at the desk. But I know who does the legal work for that investment group. And I know things about their other deals that they would prefer stayed quiet. He says it plainly. No drama. Just a fact he's placing on the table. If you'll let me help. Nicole looks at him. At her grandmother's handwriting on the notepad under the lamp. At the photograph of two young women in 1968 standing in front of a building in a country her grandmother never named. Why? She asks. He looks up. Why do you want to help me? You don't know me. He's quiet for a second. Then, my grandmother spent 30 years carrying a grief she couldn't explain to anyone because the person it was about didn't exist anymore. He picks up his own photograph, the one of Suni in the kitchen. Looks at it. I want to know who she was carrying it for. Nicole is quiet. Okay, she says finally. The foundation crack has been there since 1992. Nicole knows because there's a maintenance note about it in her grandmother's files. Crack in southeast foundation wall. Inspector says cosmetic, not structural, seal, and monitor. Sealed. Monitored. Never touched again. It's June SEO who finds the surveying note. He comes to the restaurant the next morning with his own copies of the original construction permits, pulled through a contact in the city records office. He spreads them on the kitchen prep table while Nicole makes coffee. He's not wearing his suit jacket. It's the first time she's seen him without it. He looks younger without it. Not younger. Different. Here. He points to a surveying note on the third page. The language is technical, but the meaning is plain. The original builders noted an intentional void space in the southeast foundation wall. Sealed during construction. Not structural. No explanation given. Nicole puts two mugs on the table and leans over to read it. She built the restaurant in '87, Nicole says. The land was purchased in '86 by a holding company that dissolved 6 weeks after the transfer. He pulls out another page. The registered agent of that holding company was a Korean national. I ran the name. He pauses. He worked for a family in Seoul that my grandmother had a direct conflict with in 1967 and 1968. Nicole straightens up, picks up her coffee. Someone from that family helped her buy this land. Someone from that family who wanted to help her. Yes, and made sure no connection was visible. She looks at the wall, at the restaurant around her, at the photographs and the framed menus and the child's drawings still laminated by the service station. She knew, Nicole says. She knew this was here. They find the sealed compartment at 11 a.m. It takes 40 minutes of work on the southeast wall. Careful, slow, because neither of them wants to damage what might be inside. When the sealed panel finally comes free, it's Jun Iseo who reaches in, and it's Nicole who holds the flashlight, and they are close enough that she can feel the tension in him before his hands find anything. He pulls out a waterproof case. Olive green. Military-style latches. Completely intact. He sets it on the floor between them, and they both crouch over it. Inside, a sealed plastic folder. Inside that, documents. A Korean identity record with a photograph. A young woman Nicole has never seen, but whose jaw she recognizes because it is her grandmother's jaw. Letters, formal, between this woman's name and a Korean government official dated 1971 and 1972. A second set of photographs. People she doesn't know. A building she doesn't recognize, a street sign she can't read. And at the bottom, separate from everything else, a single folded document sealed in a second layer of plastic. Heavier paper. Formal script. Jun Iseo takes it out and unfolds it carefully. His face goes still in the way it did the first night. The way she now knows means something is moving through him that he won't show her all of. What does it say, she asks. It's an agreement. His voice is steady but quiet. Between my grandmother's family and a woman using the name in that identity record. Signed in 1969. He reads for a moment. My grandmother was being pressured into a marriage arrangement by the family she worked for. Forced, essentially. This woman, your grandmother, helped her refuse it. Helped her disappear from their reach. He pauses. When the family figured out who helped her, your grandmother became the one who had to run. Nicole sits back on her heels. She didn't come to America. Nicole says slowly. She escaped to America and built a new life so completely that not even her own family knew what she left behind. The kitchen is very quiet. My grandmother told me once, Nicole says, that some people love you from a distance because getting close would cost them something. I was 9. I thought she was talking about my father's side of the family. She looks at the identity record, the jaw she recognizes. She was talking about herself. Jun Iseo doesn't say anything. He's still holding the agreement. He looks at it like it's finishing a sentence that was started 60 years ago. The last thing in the case is a letter. Cream paper. folded once. Her grandmother's handwriting, later in life, controlled and deliberate, the way it looked in the 90s. No date, no addressee, just these words. If you found this, then someone tried to take what I built. I hope it's not you reading this. I hope it's someone who earned the right to know the truth. I couldn't go back. I couldn't write. Every letter I sent would have been a way to find me and a way to find you. So I built something instead. Something that couldn't be moved or lost or taken. Something that, if anyone ever pushed hard enough, would push back with the whole truth. The restaurant is not a building. It is everything I couldn't say. Suni, if somehow, some way, this reaches you, you were worth it. Every bit of it. Every year. I hope you made a life as good as the one you deserved. Nicole reads it once. Reads it again. Her hand is flat on the prep table. The flashlight is still on, pointing at the wall. Junesio is very still beside her. After a long time he says, she died in 2011. Suni, his voice is even. He's had years to make it even. She was still asking about her at the end. The nurses thought she was confused, asking for someone who wasn't there. Nicole folds the letter back along its crease. She knew, Nicole says. My grandmother knew she was still looking. Then why? Because she loved her more than she needed her to know. Nicole sets the letter down. That's what the restaurant is. That's what it's always been. 3 weeks later, Yoon Seo-yeon's financial ties to the investment group are published by 2 outlets simultaneously. Jun Seo doesn't explain how the information reached them. He doesn't need to. The investors withdraw from the acquisition. Gerald calls to apologize. Nicole listens. Says thank you. Hangs up. The restaurant fills again slowly. Not overnight. Not with drama. Just tables coming back. The regulars first. Then new people. A review goes up from a food writer Nicole has never heard of, describing the oxtail dish as the best thing she ate all year. Nicole reads it once and doesn't read it again. Darius finds her in the kitchen one afternoon, standing at her station, not cooking. Just standing. You okay? Yeah. She looks at the pass. At the dining room beyond it, empty between services. Darius, did you know my grandmother never told my father where she was from? You mentioned. She told him Atlanta was where she started. Like nothing came before. Nicole picks up a dish towel. Folds it. He accepted that. He never pushed. I think he knew there was something there, but he loved her enough to let her carry it. She puts the towel down. I think I'm only now understanding what kind of love that is. Darius looks at her. Doesn't push either. Goes back to his station. Jun Seo comes in for dinner on a Thursday. No suit this time. Just a jacket. He sits at table 4 because that's his table now, and Nicole knows it's his table, and the staff knows it without being told. She plates the oxtail herself and sends it out. Then she unties her apron and goes to the dining room and sits down across from him. She doesn't usually do this during service. She does it now. He's already eating. He looks up. It's better every time, he says. It's the same every time. Then I'm getting better at tasting it. She looks at him across the table. He looks back. The restaurant moves around them. The servers, the tables, the sound of a kitchen doing what it was built to do. She wanted you to find her, Nicole says. I know. She built it so you would. I know. He sets his fork down. Not the way he set it down that first night. Not with shock or grief. Just resting it, the way a man does when he's done rushing. My grandmother's house in Jeonju. There's a kitchen garden in the back. She planted the same herbs every year until she couldn't anymore. I always thought it was habit. He pauses. I think now it was hope. Nicole nods. They sit in that for a moment. Outside the window, the Atlanta street moves past, indifferent and alive. Inside the restaurant that Adiz Brooks built on a secret and a promise and 50 years of silence, 2 people sit across from each other connected by a recipe, a letter, and something that might still be growing. Then Nicole's phone lights up on the table. A number she doesn't recognize. Korean country code. She looks at it. Looks at Jun Seo. He hasn't seen it. The call ends. A voicemail deposits. She picks up the phone and listens. The voice is old. A woman. Speaking slowly in Korean, except for the last 4 words, which she says in English. Clear. Deliberate. Like she practiced them. I know about you. Nicole lowers the phone. Jun Seo watches her face change. What is it? She plays him the voicemail. He goes very still. The stillness from the first night. But this time his eyes find Nicole's and stay there. There is something in his face she has not seen before. Not the grief of the first night. Not the controlled calm of every night since. Something closer to fear. That voice, he says. You know it. He doesn't answer right away. He looks at the phone. At the table. At the room around him. Then, my grandmother had a sister. Nicole waits. She died in 1970. That's what the family told us. He looks up. That's what they told us. The restaurant keeps moving around them. Plates going out. Conversations at other tables. A city outside that doesn't know anything just shifted. Nicole puts her phone face down on the table. And neither of them moves. If this story hit you the way we think it did, like it, share it, and drop a comment below. Tell us what you think that phone call means. And if you're not subscribed to Afro-Korean Confessions TV yet, do it now. Because where this goes next, you don't want to miss it.